Hi guys, my name is Moran. Welcome to my series Getting Personal, where I gather different stories from Reddit, and today we have more or less lighthearted episode. Well, not like too much fun, but today we're gonna be dealing with some odd relationship issues. It's the stories about relationship problems that I just found incredibly strange or that baffled me, where I was like, why is this even a problem? Or how does this warrant this particular reaction? So, without further ado, let's dive in and take a look at some very, very odd things happening. So, the first story I have is from Relationship Advice, and it is I've 24 female been tormented by my boyfriend 24 male for a couple years now when he repeatedly says this. Have you ever been beaten by a wet spaghetti noodle by your girlfriend and her twin sister because you got confused and her dad? Well, that's how it feels to drive a Ford F-150 Ford. Almost every day, my boyfriend will recite this word for word in the most random times mid-conversation. Sometimes he'll ask me a normal question such as, hey, guess what? Or will catch my attention by saying, hey, my name. And when I'm least expecting it, he will say it again. Have you ever been beaten by a wet spaghetti noodle by your girlfriend and her twin sister because you got confused and her dad? Well, that's how it feels to drive a Ford F-150 Ford. Let me emphasize the fact that we could be having a regular conversation about anything, and it will always lead back to this almost every day. I have asked him to stop saying it, and yet I have no peace. I am fed up with the saying. I have been tormented long enough. He thinks it is hilarious, while I am sick of hearing it. My absolute annoyance with this saying almost resembles when you're watching something interesting on YouTube and then an unskippable ad comes in and starts playing and you have to listen to it. Even for the 5 seconds it may only take, it seems like forever, and it pops up every single day. Have you ever been beaten by a wet spaghetti noodle by your girlfriend and her twin sister because you got confused and her dad? Well, that's how it feels to drive a Ford F-150 Ford. How can I make this stop? Is there any way to tell him I can't stand it anymore? I don't understand what is happening. I am terrified and I'm confused and I want to go home. What the is this? Why would this man say this string of nonsense every single day? How does he think it's funny? And the title states for a couple years now. So for a couple years, almost every single day, this man will repeat a bunch of nonsense at random times and think it's funny. His non-existent sense of humor aside, I would just like to note that it is not okay when your partner is not fine with something and repeatedly tells you to stop, but you keep doing it anyway. Like, there was also this one story on Reddit. I don't think it's going to be included in here because it's more like violent and worse than this one, is where a wife also asked on Relationship Advice what to do because her husband over years keeps hitting her with like a towel or something as a joke, and she asked him to stop a lot of times, and she said it's like uncomfortable and painful and she doesn't like it. He will just laugh it off, say he will not do it again, and then do it again. It is not okay. It should not be acceptable, and it is just a sign that this person doesn't care for your boundaries, doesn't care for your comfort, doesn't care how you feel. Because for them, like in this case, for this dude, it's more important to say this stupid thing for no reason than to spare your feelings, you know? Because I can think of only one reason why he would keep doing that after you told him to stop. It's he enjoys making you annoyed. He enjoys watching you squirm, watching you roll your eyes, and he enjoys making your mood worse. For some reason, maybe he thinks that's funny, but I don't see how making your partner upset is funny whatsoever. So I would have like a sit down with him. Maybe, he's not getting the message. I really doubt that, but for the sake of the discussion, for the sake of the experiment, sit him down, say, like, it's a very serious issue for me. I can't stand this anymore. Would you please stop saying that? Maybe ask him why he thinks it's funny. Maybe ask him why he can't actually stop saying that. What is his reasoning? I actually just wonder if he even drives a Ford, because if he doesn't, I'm gonna lose my shit. I swear to God. The top comment in this one is very succinct and I think perfect, because it says, "This is really weird." And it is really weird. Like, that phrase is really a bunch of nonsense. I don't know why a sane person would keep doing that. Is this just weird habit? Is this like a coping mechanism for something? Maybe he's having deeper issues. But all of this you need to talk through, and you need to make it very clear that this is your new boundary in the relationship. Well, not new, it's old, because you already told him multiple times, but this needs to be clarified in a way that leaves absolutely no doubt that this is a deal breaker. Because imagine your partner just, I don't know, randomly spat on the floor every single day. It might be a small thing, but would you be able to deal with it for the rest of your life? I wouldn't. The same as I wouldn't be able to hear my partner say bullshit like that every single day. So you need to really think if it's fixable, and if he refuses to fix it, you need to imagine if you can handle it for the rest of your life. So there. Let's move on to the next story, and it is, am I the asshole for asking my girlfriend to not dress outrageous for one day? My girlfriend, Iris, is a very unique person. She's soft-spoken, kind, and not afraid to be different. I love those things about her, but after a while, I have been getting bothered by the quirks I once loved. Iris is obsessed with vintage fashion and antiques. Her whole apartment, wardrobe, and style is from the 60s. She only listens to old music and says phrases like groovy and far out. All she wears is either tie-dye eccentric patterns that can be an eyesore and mismatched looking outfits. In public, people stare at her and turn their heads, usually in confusion, and I usually don't mind. This weekend, I'm having a family event at a nicer group setting. I asked her if she could maybe wear something a bit more modernized, and she seemed to be bummed out and offended. I don't mean to be rude, but I just asked if maybe she could spare one day. I don't mean to be rude, but I am asking you to change who you are for one day, not to bother my family and make me embarrassed. That's exactly how it sounds. And I think in this case, ultimately, asshole. It just sounds like a bigger issue where you seem to be losing feelings for her in general, and that also is reflected in the way that things that you found charming previously started to annoy you now. That's usually what happens when your feelings for the person as a whole shift. So I don't think it's necessarily a problem of her fashion choices. If you're going to a nicer social setting, you could have asked her to dress up nicely. Make it clear that you are having a bit of a fancier dinner than you usually do. That is normal. Like, when you go to McDonald's, you can go in your pajama or whatever, but when you're going to a nice restaurant with your family, it sort of is like a thing that you would dress more festively, right? And there would be nothing wrong with making that clear. What is wrong here is that you didn't do that. You asked her to not dress outrageously and wear something more modernized, knowing that she doesn't do that kind of thing. So you're basically asking her to change her whole appearance for a night out with your family, which is cringy. Comes off as you are uncomfortable with how she looks. I mean, it's like asking me to wear like a fully colorful outfit, knowing that I wear primarily black, or like asking me to go somewhere in a tracksuit. So this is not great. Let's move to another story. My girlfriend, 35 female of 3 years, is creeping me, 30 male, out. How do I get my girlfriend to stop going into troll mode during our intimate sessions? I'm deeply in love with my girlfriend and she's typically exceptional when it comes to intimacy. However, her behavior has taken a weird turn lately. A few weeks ago, she lost her job, a position she was really passionate about. She's generally a strong, emotionally resilient woman, but this is the first time I've seen her so emotionally vulnerable. Since the job loss, she's been acting unusually. I've heard her softly muttering troll when she thinks I'm not listening, appearing lost in thought, and isolating herself more than usual. We both understand that this is a temporary setback and she'll find new employment soon. Last night, we thought some intimate time would help alleviate stress. Yet, my girlfriend suddenly declared troll mode activated, began making odd animalistic sounds, rhythmically drummed her fingers on my back like she was playing a musical instrument, and took a very unorthodox and experimental approach to our encounter. Although the experience was intense and unique, it has left me concerned that she may be dealing with deeper emotional or psychological issues. Any advice? My main concern is not the troll mode itself, but rather that she might be struggling with a serious emotional or mental issue. But it is also mostly the troll mode thing. Do I break up with her? Do I call her parents? Do I come back at her with orc mode? This is funny, but generally the whole situation is very strange, and I would say that she might be having a mental health episode. They sometimes start off with very small alarming behaviors that seem out of place in a person. So I would say that in this situation you definitely have to talk to her. You have to ask her if this is something that she thinks is just fun to do and she just felt like surprising you, or just, felt like messing around, or this is some more sinister problem, because then she definitely needs help. I mean, if you love her, I wouldn't say that you should break up with her straight away. You might call her parents, but also maybe after you have a discussion, like honest, open discussion about what the troll mode about. Orc mode, I feel like, would be only a fitting solution if she is actually just messing around with you. And I would actually think that it is just a mess around. She thought it was funny if it only happened in bed. But I find it very strange that you heard her muttering troll. That is very concerning. Edit, I can't stress enough how disruptive troll mode is becoming in our intimate life. Not only are the weird animalistic noises and unconventional behaviors throwing me off, but things have gotten so wild that my toe feels strange afterward, like it's been on its own roller coaster ride. Toe? Why would his toe feel weird? Or is it like a replacement for a dick? Because now I'm just confused. Plus, there is now this odd smell lingering in the room that wasn't there before. It's all creating an atmosphere of unpredictability and concern that's really hard to ignore. I'm baffled and I don't know how to proceed. Is this even a textbook case that a therapist would know how to deal with? Are there guidelines for which modes are just too out there? Well, this is definitely something a therapist would know how to deal with. Like, I mean, they are trained to deal with exceptionally strange behaviors, and if not a therapist, then psychiatrist would definitely know what to do. But overall, this post is so strange. I still am not sure if it's like a creative writing exercise. Very odd. Let's move on to the next story, which is Am I the asshole for getting upset when my partner packs her lunch for the next day before we've even had a chance to eat our dinner? Normally, I'm the one who cooks because I enjoy it and I'm the better cook. When my partner gets home from work, the meal is usually ready or close to ready. She sets the table, it's just us, no kids, and usually she will wash her lunchbox and immediately pack her lunch for tomorrow straight from the stove. This is done before we've even had a chance to sit down and eat the meal I've cooked. I don't know why exactly, but this behavior really annoys me. She says it's because she's tired after eating and doesn't want to do it then, but I've pointed out that she can pack her lunch after she has washed the dinner plates and while I'm putting the leftovers into Tupperware containers. This has also happened once or twice when we've had guests for dinner. To me, making her lunch plate before anyone else has a chance to eat the food feels like self-serving behavior. She's literally serving herself first. Maybe it's petty, but it bothers me, and when I mentioned it to her, she got defensive and said that I was creating a fake problem. Well, it's not a big issue, it is an action that makes me feel not good, and she has the ability to change her behavior, but refuses to. Am I the asshole and this is not a thing, or should she wait until after we eat to pack her lunch? This post seems to have bothered not only me, but a lot of people because in just 23 hours it got 6,000 upvotes and gathered almost 5,000 comments. But there is already a verdict, asshole, and I kind of agree because even though I am a proponent of if your partner does something small that annoys you and they could easily change their behavior, they could do it, not should, could if they want to make it easier on you and get rid of the problem. But on the other hand, it is applicable to situations where there is no, other factors playing into that. Like from the previous story, the dude could easily stop saying that annoying phrase that just irritates his girlfriend and it would cause him no problem, but it would immensely improve their relationship by, ceasing to annoy the life out of her. However, in this case, the dude gets annoyed by something very simple and he has zero reasoning for that. His reasoning that it's self-serving, I even refuse to acknowledge it. I refuse to talk about it because it's stupid. So he basically says that it just annoys me, stop doing that. Well, she has a very good explanation as to why she does that. It is that she's too tired after eating to do all of that, so she does it straight away when she comes home. Makes perfect sense. And now that we have that, zero reasoning on one side and perfect reasoning on the other, I don't think that it should be her problem to fix it. It's your problem. It bothers you. You should first figure it out why that bothers you and then work on that maybe, because sometimes, these requests are not your partners to solve. There you go. As simple as that. If the OP refuses to explore why it bothers him so much and whatnot, I would say there is another option, which is she could just wash her container when she comes home, and instead of packing her lunch straight away, she could just leave the container, and when you are putting things in Tupperware, you could pack her lunch. Then it's problem solved because she doesn't have to do anything after she eats because, again, she's tired and doesn't want to, and you are helping her out while eliminating the problem that you're having. Seems very fair to me in this case. You sort of are creating a problem out of nowhere. I could try to expand on all the possible reasons it bothers him, but I just don't really feel like it because it's first of all, guesswork. Second of all, I don't get paid for this, so whatever. And I really would be more on the OP's side if we didn't have formulations like self-serving behavior. She's literally serving herself first. Like, who is supposed to be served first then? That's the question I want to ask. Does it bother you that you're cooking and then she takes the first portion for herself? Now I'm starting to analyze this, which I didn't want to do. So, asshole, let's just move on. Am I wrong for telling my girlfriend to rein in her daddy issues while we're visiting my family? My girlfriend, Shay, female 27, and I, male 26, are on a small vacation to my hometown. She's only ever met my dad and extended family, aunt, uncle, and cousins over the phone, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to introduce everyone properly. But since we've arrived, Shay's behavior towards my dad has been seriously off-putting. For example, I thought it would be fun if we all went horseback riding. My younger cousins do it as a hobby, so I thought it would be nice to do an activity we'd all like. But Shay wouldn't even get on the horse because she said she was scared. It's been years since I've been on a horse, but they were so calm and honestly not a problem at all. I offered to stay with her while the others enjoyed themselves, but she insisted I go because my dad already offered to stay behind. He doesn't usually go horseback riding either. It was weird that she didn't want me there too, but I left it be. There have been other instances too, like how she asked my dad to show her around town instead of staying with me and meeting my old friend from high school. It was an impromptu meetup. We literally ran into him while we were looking for somewhere to get lunch with my dad. But it would have been nice if she made the effort to get to know him instead of going with my dad. The final straw was when we were all at my aunt's house for dinner. Shay made cupcakes, baking is kinda her thing, and she made some chocolate and peanut butter ones specifically because they are my dad's favorite. She made a few different types of cupcakes, but none of the others were my other relatives' favorite flavors. When we got back to our Airbnb, I confronted her. I know Shay's dad left when she was a teen and they're no contact, so I figured she might be clinging to my dad because it's nice to have a fatherly presence and not something she's used to. I asked her jokingly to rein in her daddy issues and to stop being so clingy with my dad. She blew up at me, telling me that she's trying her best to fit in and that I've put no effort in making her feel welcome. Neither of us were willing to compromise, and I ended up sleeping somewhere else for the night. I need to talk things out with her today, but before I do want to make sure I'm not in the wrong. You're so in the wrong, it's ridiculous. This is so reasonable. I can't believe this is actually real. Most of the people dream of their partner getting along with their parents. You took your girlfriend to your family. It is a very big pressure meeting the family, especially meeting the parents. And from what I can see in this post, she was doing awesome with that. And you have a very strange perception of this because she was not being clingy in the very least. Let's go over the instances. So, horse riding, she didn't want to get on the horse and she decided that she will stay with the dad because he doesn't usually go riding either and insisted that you go and have fun, which sounds like your girlfriend was being considerate, didn't want to hold you back from riding with your cousins, and very, very nicely offered to stay with your dad who doesn't go anyway. So, like, what's the problem there? And, like, I don't appreciate the whole they were so calm and honestly not a problem at all. You are completely devaluing her emotions because you don't think it's a problem. When I first went horseback riding a couple of years ago, so I was a grown-up already, I didn't think I would be afraid of horses. I've seen horses, like generally in the village and like milling around in the fields, but I've never been like very close to a proper like big horse. And when it came to actually standing near the horse, let alone climbing on that thing, I got cold feet. And I did not like my first time horseback riding because I found them terrifying. The horses are very big. They are nice. Yes, some of them are nice, but you never know. It's a huge animal. And if you've never spent that much time around horses, you don't necessarily feel confident enough that this animal will not kick you in the face or do something else, and just generally they are scary, even if they are nice. So don't discount somebody's feelings. If a person is afraid of mice, they are afraid of mice. If they're afraid of horses, they're afraid of horses. Just off. We can be scared of different things. It's fine. Next episode is she went with your dad instead of staying with you and your old friend, and you found this somehow offensive that she didn't put an effort to know your friend. But like, isn't it more valuable that she gets to know your dad better? I think she just wanted to give you a chance to catch up with your friend while also taking an opportunity to bond with your dad better. I again don't see anything wrong. I see very good approach from the girlfriend who wants to get to know her boyfriend's family, and boyfriend being a dick about it. That's what I see. And the last one is that she made cupcakes of different flavors, and among those she made his father's favorites. Once again, I see it as a nice gesture, as a way to reciprocate the fact that the family accepted you, that the family hosted you, and maybe it's her way of saying thank you and just showing some homey warmth or whatever. You are chucking it up under daddy issues. Yikes. Very odd. Let's move to the next story. Am I the asshole for telling my wife I don't care about her dreams? And funnily enough, this post is not at all what you might have thought. My wife wants to be an influencer on TikTok and YouTube. She has been creating mommy content and content about her day-to-day life. When she told me this is something she wanted to do, I didn't have a problem with it. I only said that I didn't want our children, from male to female, in any of her content. I didn't monitor her channel because it didn't really seem necessary. I recently watched her channel because I thought it'd be cute to see what she does in her day-to-day life. I found our children's faces in almost all of her content. I told her straight up she needs to remove all of her content. She said that she knew I wouldn't agree, but she doesn't think this is a big deal. I don't like children content. I feel like a lot of the time when you see that children make profit, they become less of your kids and more of a product, and your interactions become more performative. And I can see the same thing has happened in her because she posted a video of her getting our 2-year-old out of a tantrum and how she deals with it. But how is your first instinct to record and hold a camera whilst our baby is crying? All very reasonable questions, and I like how this man thinks. She started crying, saying that she built this up and this is her dream, and deleting her content will ruin it. And I said I simply don't give a if you don't delete it, I will consider a divorce. I know a lot of people have children on their social media, and I don't mind an Instagram or Facebook post, but to make videos seems too intimate to share. She told her friends and even hinted on her social media accounts that she has an over-controlling and narcissistic husband that doesn't want her on social media, and I am currently being ridiculed by her friends. Am I being over-controlling or narcissistic? No. Reddit also doesn't think that. He has been served with not the asshole. I wholeheartedly agree because I don't see anything controlling or narcissistic in this instance when you're just trying to protect your children. Yes, I might be biased because I am very much against mom influencers, mommy bloggers, all this thing where parents will literally make their child into an object that earns them money. I don't think children should be influencers, and I don't think they should be used in mommy content because children can't give their consent to being filmed, to being put on the internet for who knows what people to see. Yes, they can grow up and ask to delete those things, but internet is forever. Those things can be deleted, but not fully, never fully. You cannot scrape it off the internet. So I don't think he's in the wrong here, especially since he said, I am not comfortable with you putting our children on your platform. And then she agrees, turns around, and does the exact same thing he asked her not to do. That is crossing of boundaries, and children aside, not great behavior towards your partner. But if we bring back children, it's even worse, because once again, don't use your children to get ahead and get more likes and get more views. I really don't think it's ethical. I don't think it's a good idea. And why, if you have a dream of being an influencer, you can't do something else? With a lot of these bloggers, like mommy bloggers, it seems to me that they have zero possible input in other areas, so they just showcase their child for entertainment, and I think it's very disturbing, especially with videos like mentioned here when she filmed her daughter having a tantrum. Your child is hurt and your first thought is to take out a camera and start filming them. I don't get it. So no, not the asshole. And in this instance, I fully support saying that you don't give a about her dreams and considering a divorce if she doesn't comply, because you're both parents, you both have the right to influence their upbringing, and if you're not comfortable with your children being pimped out for likes, it's absolutely reasonable. Let's move to the next story. Today I fucked up by asking my partner to stop eating his own cum after sex. I feel like for this one we need a trigger warning. This is going to be extremely gross. I, female 23, have been in a relationship with this guy, male 33, for like a year. When we started dating, after a month of getting to know each other, we went to his place and did the deed. Enjoyable experience overall. But after he was done, he removed the condom and, with very expert gestures, proceeded to drink his junk right out of it. I was shocked and confused. In my head, I was like, yo, man, what the f? He was my first partner, and I wondered if it was kinda normal, common. Since I used to be a people pleaser, I managed to hide my shock and disgust and simply asked him, why did you do that? He answered me as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. It's a lot of kilojoules of energy. I can't waste them. I was even more confused. I was literally speechless, and what was being a very nice and romantic night managed to become a weird and kinda awkward situation. Kinda? I'm sorry, this is the most awkward shit I've ever heard. You just lost your virginity to this man and he drinks his own cum out of a condom. This is even worse than my story, and mine was pretty awful. To make things worse, he even stated in a very dramatic tone, I will never allow anyone to eat my semen. He said that his junk was something precious. If someone would ever get access to that, it was like being able to steal his soul. I don't know, it made no sense. And also, dude, nobody here is trying to steal your precious cum. Ugh. By the way, he wasn't drinking his cum in a kinky or erotic way, or I don't know, he did it like it was an extremely serious and important deal. Why drinking your own cum must be so dramatic? We kept dating for several months, and every time we had sex, every single time, he did the same thing. I started to become very concerned, since usually inside the condoms there's some lube, I guess. He even complained about the bad taste of the lube or the latex the condom was made of. The taste of his own cum somehow didn't bother him at all. Good for him. And even if usually lube is not that toxic, I think that consuming a small amount but very often may not be the healthiest habit. Also, his breath right after this ritual almost made me throw up all the time, time, since he even refused to brush his teeth afterwards. I didn't chew, I swallowed it in one gulp, so I don't need to brush my teeth. Ew. I tried to discreetly make him understand that his habit was grossing me out by saying out loud ew or by covering my eyes, but he didn't get the clue. A year passed by. I had enough. I tried to confront him, but nope, he was unmovable. Neither the fact that his passion for his own cum was making me a little uncomfortable, nor the fact that, in my opinion, eating lube could be harmful made him stop. He then proceeded to get mad. He stated that he wasn't doing anything wrong, that he just didn't want to waste precious substances from his body, and that I was making a scene for nothing. Did he eat his own shit, might I ask? Or drink his own urine? Because those are also substances from his body, but we don't eat that, do we? I told him about his breath, and he straight up accused me of having a bad smell. I told him that by deflecting my accuse, he was just making things worse, but then he interrupted me and just told me I was insufferable. Then he just left. He was extremely angry. I've never seen that side of him. I'm sure that he will tell me to pack my things and to leave. So right now I'm mad, confused, and scared about his behavior. As you should be. I can't believe you lost it a whole year. I don't think I would be able to handle that, because that's gross. Like, what do you mean he drinks his cum out of a condom? That's disgusting. That's one of the most disgusting things I've heard, okay? It gives me men who think they are like a gift to the world and their seed is liquid gold. I'm so glad that they actually broke up. This is a story of her past. So let's move to another wacky story. Am I the asshole for not telling my boyfriend about my nose job? Alright, so basically I've 22 female, been dating this guy 26 male for 2 months now, and we were going pretty strong. I like his vibe and he likes mine, and we kinda just fit with no issues until 2 days ago. You see, I grew up with a big hooked nose, with a wide nose bridge, and while I think nothing of it on other people, I hated it on myself growing up and desperately wanted to change it. I get you so much, girl. So I started saving up at 16 and ended up getting a nose job at 19, which I have no regrets about. The other day, my boyfriend and I were looking through old photos on my phone and stuff, and he suddenly asks me, why does your nose look so different in those? I obviously tell him the truth, and I wasn't that surprised over him only noticing now because the difference isn't that huge. It's the same, except the bump is gone, so the tip looks the same, Out of nowhere, he just turned bitter, angry, and I was like, oh, so you only cared to tell me now? And I was like, I would have told you, but it was a long time ago and it never came up in our conversation. But he was still super mad and started going off on how there is so much about me he probably doesn't know and I'm hiding stuff. In complete honesty, I had no intention of hiding it. It just never came up in our conversations, and I didn't feel obligated to bring it up out of nowhere, but maybe that was what I would be expected to do. I don't know. I never really thought about it, probably since I'm so used to it, and I don't know why it's such a big deal, but yeah, he's still mad at me and grouchy over it, so I don't know. Please help. First of all, not the asshole. Something is very odd going on in your boyfriend's head. I personally think it's ridiculous. People can do whatever they want to do with their appearance, and certainly you were not obligated to notify him about it. I mean, when we start dating new people, we don't necessarily list out all of the changes we do to our bodies and all of the things we went through. I mean, like, I don't know, when I started dating new people, which was a very long time ago, I didn't feel the need to tell them that I broke my toe when I was 12. It didn't come up. I didn't tell them that. So like, it's the same logic to me in here that, it never came up. And when it did, she honestly said, I got a nose job. I don't see anything wrong with it. I just feel like the boyfriend is dealing with some kind of insecurity. Maybe he doesn't like nose jobs, doesn't like the surgeries in general, and he's mad and he's twisting this anger into an excuse to like blame you and blow this out of proportion and say that you are somehow in the wrong and that there is probably so much you're hiding from me and stuff. He's just being weird, okay? Very odd. So let's move to the next one. Am I the asshole for asking my girlfriend to stop writing gay fanfic about me? Hey, I'm 19 male and my girlfriend 18 female have been dating for about 2.5 years now. All going smooth until a few days ago. She texted me a link to a Wattpad page and I opened it and I was shown her entire page. She had so much fanfic in there, I was blown away. I was bombarded and then I read one because it had my name. Then I started to get uncomfortable. She used my full name in the story and described me down to a T. My girlfriend is also a huge K-pop fan and it was a homosexual fanfic about me and said K-pop member. Just reading it had me feeling kind of sick. She went into great detail and it had an entire 7-part series about it. I decided to call it quits and closed out of the tab. It had a couple views behind it too. So after like 30 minutes, I text her, hey, I saw what you wrote about me. Could you please stop that or at the very least not post it publicly? And she wasn't having it. She blew up at me saying how I shouldn't care, I'm insecure, and a bunch of other things. I tried to reason with her on this as my immediate family and friends use Wattpad, and to be honest, I just don't like the idea of her using my full name and description out there like that. She called me a piece of shit for trying to restrain her. At this point, I was just confused and asked her to call later. We called and she was still mad. Am I the asshole here? No. The girlfriend sounds insane, to be honest, because her reaction is very disproportionate and unreasonable to say the least. It sounds like a very immature person using this narrative and standard thing of like, you can't control what I do. But in this case, it's not an appropriate argument because you can't just go around and use people's full names with their descriptions without their consent. It's just not something you do. Why would she use your full real name? I just don't get it. It's kind of like a standard of fiction, I feel like, to change the names when you use real people in your stories. This is so baffling. There is no verdict yet, but I don't doubt there will be not the asshole one. The last story I have for you today is, am I the asshole for locking up my romance novels so my husband can't throw them away? I love romance. To be clear, I don't enjoy self-inserts or wish fulfillment romance where I'm the target. I love reading about two individuals falling in love and the idea of eternal love. I read a lot of romance books. I also enjoy josei manga, webtoons, comics, and short stories. My husband recently started having an issue with my romance items. He says they are in the way. I keep my books on one bookshelf. I have my own iPad, though I prefer physical books. I have my own library card and account. I do my half of the chores, pay my half of the bills, and do my part around the house. The romance books are not affecting his life in any way, but he hates them. He made a comment about throwing them out and having a fresh start. I would have a fresh start without him. So I bought a small cabinet slash dresser with a lock on it from Amazon and locked up all of my novels. My husband tried opening the door of one and found out it was locked. Now he's upset and guilt-tripping me, saying that I don't trust him and that I care more about my romance novels than him. Am I the asshole? Absolutely not. What do you mean he's guilt tripping you that you don't trust him? I mean, you have a perfectly good reason not to, because that jerkface told you that he would throw them away. Like, that's a direct threat to your books. So the logical step would be to get a lock on the doors and to protect your novels from this insane person. I don't know what the husband's problem is. I can only imagine that that it has something to do with his insecurity as to how much he fulfills your needs as a partner and a sex partner, and maybe he thinks that you like those stories because you're lacking something. You know, I've heard so much stupid bullshit, especially from men when it comes to romance novels. They will say that if you like this fictional guy and you have a crush on him, then you don't love me enough. I am not enough for you. And I'm like, get yourself some self-esteem, my dude. I find this issue very strange. And later in the comments, OP pointed out that they did move from the bigger apartment into a studio because of his job. So maybe there is some less space than he is used to, but I don't think it's a problem of space. I think he specifically has a problem with your novels and with their content. He's just either unwilling to admit that or doesn't even realize it. Anyway, I wish your library the safety that it deserves. Keep it away from your weird hubba. I am really hoping for an update on this one. Anyway, this was the last very odd story that I found for you today. Don't forget to drop the like, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching if you're still here, though I doubt it. I will see you with another video next week. Bye.